The illusion of control, how monetary policy became a game of reaction instead of strategy. 1. The market mirage. The markets are no longer about value, they're about motion. Prices rise not because companies grow stronger, but because liquidity sloshes around like water in a leaky boat. Every rumor, every policy leak, every whisper from the Federal Reserve can send markets sprinting or collapsing. So what does that actually mean? It means you have to think short-term and defensive. Play the volatility, not the fantasy of fundamentals. When the market crashes, that's not panic time, that's homework time. The next bull run starts where fear peaks. Footnote. Market psychology today revolves around momentum and reaction rather than valuation or long-term capital formation. 2. The Fed's tightrope. The Federal Reserve's upcoming rate decision looks more like a circus act than policy. Everyone expects a rate cut, but nobody's sure the votes are there. Inflation still bites, the economy looks uneven, and the Fed's credibility is stretched thin. If they cut, the market sells. If they hold, the market sells. Heads, you lose. Tails, you also lose. Wall Street doesn't trade facts, it trades feelings. So what does that actually mean? Investors should expect confusion no matter what the Fed decides. The real issue isn't the rate itself, it's the message. The Fed has become reactive, not proactive, an institution chasing outcomes it once claimed to shape. Footnote. Federal Reserve policy increasingly reacts to market sentiment rather than leading it, undermining its reputation for stability. 3. Independence is a myth. The independent Federal Reserve is about as independent as a teenager with their parents' credit card. The Treasury borrows, the Fed enables. One's assets are the other's liabilities. It's all the same balance sheet wearing different suits. The illusion of separation calms the markets, but everyone in Washington knows the truth. The Fed is an appendage of fiscal policy. When deficits balloon, the Fed monetizes them. When Congress overspends, the Fed adjusts rates to clean up the mess. So what does that actually mean? The Fed isn't setting the rules, it's following orders. Monetary policy is now fiscal policy with better lighting. Footnote. The operational unity between the Treasury and the Fed renders independence largely ceremonial in a high-debt economy. 4. Reform or regression. When the Fed was born in 1913, it was decentralized and modest, a network of regional banks designed to prevent financial panic. Now it resembles a bureaucratic colossus with its own payment systems, media strategy, and social policy agenda. So what does that actually mean? The Fed became a planner instead of a stabilizer. It creates roles for itself faster than Congress can define them. Critics joke it looks more like Gosplan than Goldman Sachs, except it's not funny. Reform won't come from within. It never does. History shows central banks don't shrink voluntarily, they expand until something breaks. Footnote. Institutional expansion of the Fed beyond its legal mandate has blurred the boundary between economic management and political planning. 5. Debt, dollars, and the inflation trap. Deficit spending is the new addiction. The dollar's global role keeps the party going, for now. But using your national currency as the world's reserve is like leaving your credit card at every bar in town. Eventually, someone else runs up the tab. So what does that actually mean? The US runs inflation as the price of privilege. Other countries hold our paper, we export our debt. The catch is domestic, rising costs crush the lower half of society, and the political fallout makes 1776 look like a soft reboot. Footnote. Structural inflation is a predictable consequence of persistent deficit financing within a global dollar reserve framework. 6. Gold, Bitcoin, and the flight to real things. Central banks are buying gold again. That should tell us something. When governments hoard metal, it's not nostalgia, it's hedging against their own policies. Paper can be printed. Gold can't. Bitcoin? It's rebellion disguised as software. People don't trust fiat, and they're not wrong. But digital tokens still orbit the same sun, the dollar. Even rebels need liquidity. So what does that actually mean? Real assets still matter. Gold, land, energy, things you can touch, not just trade. Because in a monetary system built on promises, gravity eventually wins. Footnote. The global shift from sovereign paper to tangible reserves marks a slow erosion of confidence in fiat systems. 7. The everything bubble. Stocks at record highs, gold at record highs, and confidence at record lows. That's not a market, it's a therapy session. Inflation hides inside every asset now. Nominal gains look good on paper, but purchasing power quietly melts underneath. Investors chase performance because holding cash feels like losing. And it is. You can't sit out the bubble, you can only surf it and hope you reach the shore before it pops. So what does that actually mean? There's no safe seat in this casino. The trick isn't to win every hand, it's to cash out before the lights go out. Footnote. Inflationary policy turns all assets into speculative instruments, collapsing the distinction between investment and survival. 8. The short-term mindset. Until the system resets, politically or financially, the only sane strategy is pragmatic defense. Stay liquid, stay cautious, and stay skeptical. If the market collapses, that's your invitation to act. Crashes cleanse. Bubbles deceive. So what does that actually mean? Think like a historian, not a gambler. The end of every era looks permanent, until it isn't. Footnote. Historical perspective remains the investor's best hedge against institutional denial and monetary fatigue.